What's going on, everybody? This is Jerome Moore, host and creator of Deep Dish Conversations. And firstly, I want to say thank you for all love and support, and thank you for exploring the perspectives of social change with me on this platform. I want to encourage you all to like, subscribe, and follow us on YouTube and on your favorite podcast listen platform. And make sure you give us a 5-star rating if you're loving the Deep Dish Conversations. I appreciate all of the support again. I hope you all enjoy this episode. What's going on? Robin, Kimbrough Hayes, how you doing? Welcome to the platform.
I'm thrilled to be here.
I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm thrilled about the conversation we're going to have. I'm thrilled for people who may not be aware about what you've done and what you plan to do, running for judge in General Sessions Division 5, right?
Division 5, where
Division
the V
5.
stands for Vision and Victory.
Vision and victory. And so, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's get straight into it. Tell us, I know you had a long career. And so can you give us the abbreviated, like the core points of like who you are, your background, and then what maybe inspired you into getting into the criminal justice system, and then we can take it from there.
Great. Well, I went to Emory School of Law after graduating from Fisk University here in Nashville. And after graduating from Emory, I got my first job as an assistant attorney general for the state of Tennessee.
Okay.
So I actually worked in what they call the criminal justice division. So I did criminal appeals on behalf of the state. So I argued appeals before the Court of Criminal Appeals here in Tennessee. So when I ran for U.S. Senate, I said I argued cases from the hood to the holler, and I did. So I was all over Tennessee arguing these cases. I did a briefly practiced in private practice at a boutique firm, and so that's where I cut my teeth on General Sessions Court cases. And then I went to work for the Department of Children's Services as an associate general counsel. And in between that time, I was completing divinity school at Vanderbilt. So I have a Master of Divinity from Vanderbilt. And I have 2 children and got married during that time and stayed home with my children and went back to work as legal counsel for the Tennessee Coalition to End Domestic and Sexual Violence. And I will say that career opportunity has changed the trajectory of who I am as an attorney, who I am as a person. I grew a lot there. I learned a lot very quickly, and I was able to help thousands of people around the state of Tennessee. It was a very rewarding experience, and I'm still the person that a lot of people go to for questions about domestic violence issues, technical pieces of order protection, and not just here locally, but still statewide, because I did training all over the state for judges, police officers, advocates, medical professionals, and staff, lay persons who just want to know about issues of domestic violence. And now I have a wonderful opportunity of combining my legal and theological paths at Meharry Medical College, where I serve as the chaplain and special advisor to the president on United Methodist Affairs and director of our Ombuds office, where I handle grievances and other issues in an informal and confidential manner. So
You've done it all.
I've done it. I've done it all, and so when I look over those pieces of my career, I can see how I was navigating family and navigating career, and just having a career focused on service to the community, service to promote and advocate for justice for all people. And I've just lived a life like that. And what has inspired me to do that was my own pathway from Lexington, Kentucky, which is where I'm from, to coming to Fisk. So I grew up in a trailer park. My mother and I, we moved in that trailer park when I was 4 years old. And to give you an idea, the trailer park looked very similar to the trailer park on Dickerson Road, where the people were evicted after they had bought their trailers.
Right.
The trailer park that was in the news. So I grew up in a very difficult circumstances, and my mother and I were the only African American family in the trailer park.
That's what I was going to say, because like the narrative around like trailer parks is like white folks. Like you don't never hear or see or just imagine black folks, like, you know, we have our other, like, you know, kind of low economic areas, but they not the trailer park. And
Right.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, so I lived in a trailer, and
Wow.
it was a difficult experience. I experienced racism, classism, and insults just because I lived in the trailer.
Right.
So I believe the white people there in the trailer park, I think we were an anomaly, a black a black family living in that trailer park. But in spite of all of the challenges there, I still managed to find community. So I had friends in the trailer park. I had built community,
Right.
even in the space of racism and classism. We built community, and it was the classism that pulled us together,
Right.
because we were all poor and we all
Right.
needed housing, and we
Right.
were all experiencing the ridicule because of the culture around trailer parks.
Right.
And so when I was running for U.S. Senate, which I talk about a lot, I remember calling a voter in Knoxville, and I was telling him I grew up in a trailer park, and he said he did too, and we both kind of were silent for like 15 or 20 seconds on that phone, because we both knew how that was,
Right.
that culture and all the things that I witnessed in that trailer park. So I'm grateful to be out of the trailer park, and to be honest with you, or to be transparent, because I'm honest anyhow, but to be completely transparent, it was that trailer park that instilled in me the passion to get an education, to work hard, because I said, how do I get out of this trailer park?
Right.
So I'm little trying to figure out, how do I get out of the trailer park? And so I said, the way to get out of the trailer park is to work hard in school. This was going through my mind. I got to work hard in school.
Right.
And I remember, and I hadn't shared this on the campaign trail or anywhere else for that matter, but I was put back in my groups, my academic groups, because I was having a little difficulty at home. There was some challenges going on at home. And when I was put back, I did not like it. And I worked my tail off. And this is when I was in elementary school.
Right.
And flew by, ended up in all advanced classes coming out of elementary school.
Wow.
And being at the top of my game academically ever since that situation. But for me, it was the trailer park. It taught me how to make a lot out of a little. It taught me how to fight for education.
Right.
It taught me how to be independent, and it gave me a sense of resiliency. But I think most importantly, what that trailer park has taught me is to relate to all people.
Right.
So I relate to all people because I grew up in a trailer park.
Right. Right.
And so I learned how to talk to different people. I learned how to just communicate and maybe overlook things about people. And especially my own desire, especially at that age, people to overlook things about me, particularly that I lived in the trailer park.
Right. Right. Man, I can only imagine the transition, right, from Kentucky trailer park and then coming to Nashville to attend FISC. How did that transition, play a part in your growth and or even some of your challenges? Because two drastic environments, right? And people maybe not understanding like where you coming from, right?
Right. So that's a really good question. I had visited FISC while I was in high school. So I knew I wanted to come to FISC. And for me, FISC was freedom from Lexington and from all that represented me. It was freedom. I was ready to be a grown-up. And growing up in a positive sense, like I wasn't trying to get buck wild, go to all the parties I could go.
Right.
In fact, I was a nerd, like totally straight nerd in school. And so still academics drove me.
Right.
I was tutoring juniors and seniors in calculus when I got there. I was really a nerd and just working hard, and the goal was law school.
Right.
And so connected with other people there who were in the same goal, had the same goal. But I will tell you, it was a lot of adjustment. And I'm thankful that I went to an HBCU because I did need that support,
Right.
and I did need that growth. And I actually had visited Spelman as well. And that was a real cultural shock for me going to Atlanta, and I saw all these big homes and
Right.
black folks were living in them. I
Right.
was like, wow. And seeing a large population of black folks who had wealth.
Right.
So that was a shocker to me too. That was something culturally different
Right.
for me. But I did connect with people who were grassroots, and so we were at ABC. You hang with your homies,
Right, right.
everybody from Kentucky in the Kentucky Fist Club. So I was able to build community there, and I ended up becoming SGA president there at Fisk, and I ended up pledging Delta my sophomore year and becoming president of my chapter. I'm just this is a really good, you're getting to some places. This is good. So I really worked hard, committed, serious, because I know what the experience is like to be felt, to be let down.
Right.
I know how important it is to depend on somebody and them not being there, so I wanted to be a person that people could depend on. And you know what, yeah, I want to be a person that people could depend on, because I knew growing up in that trailer park, I really was, my mother, as a single mother, I was really, and I started staying home by myself at 4 years old. So I was fourth grade. And so I was a latchkey child.
Right.
And so I know how it feels to need someone. And I think I've lived my life to try to be present for others.
Right.
But learning at age 50 plus how to also be present for myself. And so I think that's what informs my work around social justice issues. That's why I connect. Probably the first organization was with the NAACP when I came to Fisk. And that's probably why I got elected to SJ president and other leadership roles, because people felt like they could depend on me.
And so let's get into that, right? Let's get into, why you're here and today and doing what you do. Super nerd, as you mentioned, went to all these, these great universities, got a great education, you push yourself. There are a lot of other things you could have done, career-wise. Why do you think, or what influenced you, or what happened, right, that you wanted to get into law, especially knowing the relationship that black folks, specifically being a black woman yourself, have with the criminal legal system? Some call it criminal justice system, some call it criminal punishment system, some call it here in the United States.
Well, I will tell you, I remember standing in the kitchen of my grandmother's house on my father's side, and I said, I want to be a lawyer. And so you had to remind it, my ticket was trying to get out of the trailer park.
Right.
I wanted to get out of the trailer park. And so, unlike my daughter and my son, and probably yourself, I wasn't as conscious as I could have been probably in a younger age. I think I became more conscious when I came to Fisk.
Okay, it'll do. Hey, Fisk. And I don't think Nashville gets the credit it deserves personally, because people tend to look at Alabama, Atlanta, Mississippi, but I don't, estates, or cities there. I don't think Nashville gets the credit we deserve, because we're not in those conversations a lot of times. Even in textbooks, you see, it's like you skip over Tennessee, but it's here. It's here, and I'm glad that you got a piece of that.
I did. So I became more conscious when when I was here in Nashville, becoming active with the NAACP, wanting to do social justice and change, addressing issues of racism and classism. At that time, the big deal was what was happening at Vanderbilt versus what was happening at Fisk.
Right.
So those kind of issues inspired me and to look at what I was going to do in terms of my legal career.
Okay.
So the things that guided me, and I just recommend for anybody who wants to go to law school, get you a mentor. These are things that I did not have when I got there to Emory, is to get you a mentor, somebody to guide you and kind of help you to harness your gifts and direction. But thanks be to God that I was able to be at the Attorney General's office because I was seeing a lot, these appeals that were coming through, a lot of crime, and most of the people that were being convicted were black people and poor people who were on my appellate docket. Okay. So I didn't get to always see their faces. I just saw their names and demographic information about them. You gotta be, we gotta make change.
Right.
I'm excited about running for judge right now.
What so?
Because we're at a time now in our community to do some awesome change around these issues, and I am so inspired and passionate, and I believe I'm here for such a time as this.
What are some of those issues that you're passionate about?
Wow, that's a softball question. So I ran for U.S. Senate, and it was a wild, amazing ride. So I got to talk about a lot of issues that are important to me, especially access to health care. So I'm unapologetically believe that everyone should have access to health care.
Right.
Because we saw during COVID, people lost their jobs and they lost their health insurance.
Right.
And they died because they didn't have access to health care. And we can see how making the vaccines available and masks available helps with these issues, with prevention and with saving lives, overall. So that's an issue I'm very passionate about. I'm passionate about mental health issues. We do not put enough resources into helping people with mental health issues.
Right.
These are real issues, and so I'm passionate about it. I believe that we need support systems, access. We need to reduce costs related to mental health. I was talking to someone the other day, and they said, well, they can go to the doctor if they have insurance. But I said, even if a person has insurance, it doesn't mean that they can afford the care, because after you pay the deductible may be unaffordable.
Right.
I am afraid for my family member. And although running for a judge, I cannot comment on any kind of cases or anything like that. Right. But I will tell you, as a human being, that sits heavily with me. I'm concerned about these issues. And it's not just because of my family member, but it is because I see vulnerable populations who really need assistance and understanding, and we need to understand that beyond the blindfold, these people are human. Right. They may be broken in so many ways and traumatized in so many ways. So, yeah, that it hits home, and this is what inspires my passion for justice. I think every judge needs to realize that there goes I, but the grace of God.
If somebody has a mental health issue, they might appear before you if elected judge. How does that play into your decision making? When you might be ruling on a case and you realize and okay, this individual that's in front of me has some serious mental health issues that led to him or her making or doing this offense or whatever have you. how does that go into who you are as a person and what type of judgments that you could possibly make?
Okay, this is a great question. So we do have a mental health court docket. So those cases, people can be evaluated and go to mental health court. I will say that I had a case in General Sessions Court. And so after the Senate race, I actually took on some indigent cases, and I had a client who had 4 mental health diagnoses. The person was arrested for 2 felonies. And I really appreciated the way the judge handled this case. And I appreciated, and not to pat myself on the back or anything, the way this lawyer handled that case. Because what I made as the attorney a priority is that we need mental health intervention for my client. And so the judge gave my client Tom to get access to medication and to get some redirected my client for housing, because there was some, with the current housing situation, it involved some power and control, and the source of that was my client's mental health issues. So I want to be that judge that looks at possibilities of interventions and identifying the problem.
Right.
And at the same time listening to the concerns of the victim and what they actually wanted. And so the judge was able to hear that through the prosecutor of the case. And so I want to be a judge who's able to listen to both sides and be able to be in a position to make a ruling that that will benefit society as a whole, not just the people standing before me. And in that case, my client was able to get ultimately into a drug treatment program, because my client also had a dual diagnosis of drug dependency issues.
Okay.
And 30-day, because this judge worked with the defense attorney, which was me, and the prosecution, who was very cooperative in this case, we were able to get my client regulated on meds and 30 days of sobriety under the client's belt.
Wow.
And so that's the kind of judge I want to be. I want to be able to, and ultimately the charges were dismissed. I want to be the judge that looks beyond the blindfold, and I say this all the time, and to see that there's a human being and making sure that every voice is heard.
Right.
I want to have a trauma-informed court where we are fully addressing trauma issues that meet the court, not from the defense side and from the accused side. And this is not just on the criminal docket, but also on the civil docket. Because people come in with all sets of kinds of issues.
Right.
And we need to be equipped to refer people and to be a resource to help address these issues. We need to stop running people through the docket like widgets. These are human beings who deserve to be treated with respect.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about, and I think I read, I know you speak on it a lot. Well, not a lot, but I know you touched on it a lot. It's about the classism, and how does classism affect our judicial system, and what role can judges play in that?
That's a really good question. So I've experienced classism. Now, classism brings together the hood and the holler. Classism is an issue that Dr. King talked about, and I believe that's really what he got killed over, was talking about bringing poor communities together. And when you think about class issues, you think about living wage issues, people not getting paid a living wage and $9 an hour. So I make $9 an hour. I can't afford to feed my family. I'm desperate, so I steal food, or I can't afford to pay my rent.
Right.
So poor people are hitting the docket left and right, and they're most vulnerable to the judicial system on the civil and the criminal side, because I believe that most people commit crimes out of desperation, that it is connected to poverty environment and what poverty looks like in our communities. So we do have a homeless court. So there is a court to address issues directly affecting homelessness, and the Veterans Court, because you deal with people who are veterans and who have been forgotten and who are dealing with trauma issues and PTSD. So there are courts specializing on that. So yeah, and then you get into other issues like cash bond. How does that have an impact on poor people? You get into parking at the court. It costs money to park to go to court. So you're talking about maybe $10 to $20 or more to park for your docket. So I believe that we definitely need to do some things to address systemic issues in our court, like poverty. And I believe the way to address that is that we need to be unapologetically talking about issues of poverty and how we can pass policies and work on legislation statewide to create resources for the poor, to make sure that we are addressing issues concerning housing, and that we are addressing issues concerning a living wage.
If elected judge, what are some ways that you feel like you can do that? Like sit on the bench and try to get legislation and policies passed that is not rooted in discrimination, classism, racism, any disparities in general that affect those that are poor, that are black, marginalized, and all these things. The people that are generally affected by our criminal legal system.
And General Sessions' population is probably 90% reflective of what you just described. So, and immigrant communities as well. One thing I want to talk about is this pilot program that I want to do. I want to do an after-hours court. I want to do a court where people don't have to miss their $9 an hour job, or business owners don't have to miss taking care of their businesses to attend court. So I want to restructure how we're doing court and making court more accessible. And I think that will also help with paying an outrageous amount for parking as well. So I want to restructure how we're doing the docket. I also want to eliminate as many appearances that are required on the docket. Right now, before your case is even up for settlement or discussion on the criminal side, you got to at least come twice to court. That first appearance, and then that second time you can come and you talk about your case if things have not been reset. So I believe we need to do a better job on making sure that we're making court as efficient as possible, so people are not missing work, and that's true for persons accused or victim. Because you got to look on the victim or plaintiff or defense side, they're poor too. I want to look at issues. I want to be a voice at the table of the Tennessee Judicial Conference, because judges participate in conferences statewide. They can voice concerns about how courts can do things differently and address policies. So judges do have a code of conduct to go by. So judges can't take a huge stance on issues. But our code of conduct does address the importance of making sure everyone is treated fairly regardless of their demographics or cultural context. And so I do want to make sure that we are that we unapologetically remember that in our code of conduct and are implementing that in our courtrooms. Another thing that I want to do is I want to build a collaboration of organizations so that communities can be more involved in the court. and gauging ideas and suggestions from them on how we can do court better.
That's a good point, because right now I think one of the most intimate ways I think that community can get involved in court is court watch, community court watch. But what I was going to ask you is, like, how, as judge, what are your plans to stay connected and tapped in to community without community having to appear before you?
Okay, yeah, this is it. I want to build a collaboration of community organizations, grassroots organizations, who are on the ground working with victims and who are working with persons who are most vulnerable to being before the court, and how we can do court better. I want to make sure that folks are educated about the court, what actually happens there. Some people don't learn about court until they're going through the system in some form of fashion. Right. And so I want to be doing regular town halls. I want to come back on your show. I want to constantly be talking to people about what happens in these courts. You talked about court watching. I know a lot of people are doing court watching. They're scheduling court watches and they're going down seeing different judges. Mm-hmm. I want to invite people into the court, into my court, on my docket, so that they can have some more structured court watching. And I do want to have feedback sessions. Right. What was your visit like when you came to court watch? What did you have questions about? What bothered you? You know how we asked the question at the end of those other meetings, what was the tension for you in the court? Right. And what is something you didn't understand? Because that may be something we can do better. Right. Or what is something that you observed that was good, that, I really understood this, or because I'm going to be doing constant feedback. So I worked for a nonprofit for many years, and I know how important it is to engage feedback. Right. Data, survey data. So one thing I'm going to do, another thing I'm going to do related to that is I want to implement a community assessment survey. Right. So I'm actually going to send this survey out community-wide, especially to my lawyers out there who are holding it down, doing appointment work, the public defender office, the prosecutors down there, and other system folks like probation officers, the interpreters down there. Right. I want to get some feedback on how they're experiencing court and some of their ideas on what we can do differently. And I want to do have a core team that will help develop the questions for that survey from all perspectives. Right. So my court will be community engaged and community involved, because the community hires me to do this job. Right. And they need to be the ones who evaluate me, hold me accountable, and I need to be accessible, not just when it's time for re-election. Right. They need to know who everybody's gonna know. Everybody gonna know who's on General Session Division 5. Right. Court will not be the same. It is going to be community engaged. I'm going to make sure when I'm hiring people, they're going to be community people. Right. That are going to be working with me on the docket.
What would you say are some of the challenges that the Division 5 courtroom has now that you want to make better as a new candidate, a new judge, a new person sitting in that seat, if elected?
Great. So for me, what is going to change about Division 5 when I become judge, it is that it's going to be more community connected. Okay. Number 2, people come into court, period, regardless of what division they're going to, afraid, confused, stressed, traumatized. And I want to make sure that Division 5 experience alleviates a lot of that. Okay. And that's going to be reflected in the way I communicate with the court, with the folks that are in the court. And it's going to be reflected in the fact that I'm going to be building relationships with the folks that are coming through court. And I want to If I had my druthers, I wouldn't sit up on the bench. I would probably sit at a table in front of everybody to equal the playing field here. That I think that takes a lot of the stress off of that, because people are like, oh, there's the judge.
Right.
And although we do have to have, there has to be some deference to what's happening so that we can have structure and some order in the court. But I want it to be in such a way that it's a reflection of love, right, grace, and compassion and mercy. I am a chaplain. There's a prayer I know that people do before the court. God bless the court. God bless the United States. Usually the court officer does it. I might have you to come in and do it one time. I'm just going to have different people involved in the process.
Right.
So people are not just down on court to court watch, right, or to be a litigant, right, or to be a system person, right, but somebody's there as a guest, right, to do something for the court. So yes, I'm going to be. Being a judge is a wonderful platform to do, right, a lot of the work that we did, right, and that other organization.
Right.
Just think if you had the Community Bail Fund, you had Gideon's Army, you, right, had NAACP, you got MPHC, you got League of Women's Voters, you got LAW, Nashville Bar Association, Napier Luby, you got, right, everybody sitting at a table.
Right.
Talking about their experiences and ideas coming out of a collaborative effort. That's what I want to do.
What does justice mean to you? Because most people, again, criminal legal system, criminal justice system, criminal punishment system, but most people use criminal justice system still to describe our legal system here, but a lot of people don't leave feeling like they were treated, in a justifiable way. Don't feel like they got justice from the system or out of the system. So what does that mean to you?
Great.
And it's a dynamic word, I know.
It is a dynamic word.
Justice can mean different things to many people, but I think it's important for us as community members and residents to know what that means to our incumbent judges and inspiring future judges that may sit on the bench.
Well, I just want to first say, everyone visit my website, kimbroughhayes.com, because I have a set of FAQs, 5 under 5, and they're videos. And one of them is, what does justice mean to you? That's one of the questions. And justice to me means access. If I had to boil it down into one word, it means that everybody has access. And that means access means everybody's voice is heard regardless of their social, economic, or racial context, right, or political affiliation. Every voice is heard and valued. And everyone has access to the resources and opportunities everyone else has on the docket.
Another dynamic word is power, which is another thing that judges have. Judges have a lot of decision-making power. If elected judge, how do you plan to use your power to better Nashville?
Well, that's a great question, and it's an important question. And I think power has gotten a bad reputation over the years. And we need to deconstruct that term and what it is. So power, for me, and as far as the judicial system is concerned, and I think power is written on the back of the wall right there, is the ability to provide services and resources to others who need. And that's what makes somebody powerful. And what else makes somebody else powerful is the ability to receive those services and resources with a glad heart. And it is knowing where your help comes from. And when you know where your help comes from, you have humility. And if you exercise the ability to be able to provide a service to someone with humility, and I use this word a lot, love, grace. That's what I'm going to do on the bench. And I believe that it's contagious. And I'm going to be a voice at the table that will speak when other folks can't speak. When justice will no longer be silenced under my leadership. Justice will have a voice. And it means using that power that's in the gavel to bring balance to the bench and to make sure every voice is heard. Some people get black robe fever. They get caught up into that.
Right.
But when you get caught up into that, you forget about the people.
Right.
See, when you forget where your power comes from, you can go on an ego trip. But when you know that the people have bestowed upon you this responsibility,
right,
you will use it to you will see yourself as a vessel to serve and not be served.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rank our Nashville, Davis County Judicial General Sessions system? If you had to rank it 1 to 10, 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest.
Wow, Jerome, you're just asking these really hard questions, aren't you? Well,
that's why we're here.
It's hard to, when I think about, let me tell you why that question is difficult, because there's so many pieces to General Sessions Court. Right. When I look at the attorneys down there who work hard and take appointed cases and who are up against a system that's really hard every day, they get 10s. So when people say, "Oh, those appointed attorneys don't care," the public, yes, they do. They're working hard down there, and from the attorneys that I've seen and I've interacted with, and they help me along the way working with my clients. As far as access to justice and people understanding what's going on in the system, people are clear about what's going on. I would say about a 5. I think most people come into General Sessions Court very confused, and we don't do a good job of explaining what's going on in the court. And I base that not only just people flowing through, but people on the outside.
Right.
We need to do a better job and letting people know what General Sessions Court is.
Okay.
And we need to do a better job letting people know what circuit court is, right, what probate court is. And I believe it's all been in this bubble or this cocoon, and people are not totally educated about it. But times have changed.
Right.
People want to know.
Right.
People are asking questions, and I want to be somebody who can be there to share information. Okay. Because right now people really don't trust the courts.
Right.
That's why I give it a 5, because a lot of people don't trust the courts. They don't believe the courts are transparent.
Right.
So I think the courts need to be a lot more transparent. We need to educate more about the courts. Am I going to make it a 10? I hope so.
Right.
But it's not just me.
Right.
It's going to take a team.
Right.
It's going to take the judges. It's going to take community folks holding us accountable.
Right.
It's going to take surveys.
Right.
It's going to take people getting mad. Right. It's going to take, what is it called? I saw this word. I love it. It's going to take disruption.
Right.
And it's going to take all of that to get us to where we need to be. We need to be called out.
Right. It's my last question, and I'm going to let you take it away. I'm going to let you end this out. You're running for this seat. You're trying to cause a little bit of disruption yourself by changing things up. What type of good disruption is Robin Kimbrough Hayes going to cause if elected judge for Division 5 in Davidson County?
This is a great question. We began this conversation about talking about me growing up in a trailer park. The fact that I'm running for this seat is disruption. People like me usually don't get an opportunity to run.
Right.
They don't have the money.
Right.
They don't have the name. They don't have the family history of this and that. I basically come from ground zero. And there are some other candidates that have other stories as well. So when somebody comes out of the trailer park and runs for office, it is a disruption. Because they're going to bring a context of truth and sincerity.
Right.
And countercultural thinking and
Right.
context to the job.
Well, look, I enjoyed talking to you. I enjoyed this interview, and I want to leave you with the last word. So is anything that you would like to tell the viewers, the hundreds and thousands of people that's watching this and listening to this here in Nashville, is there anything that you want to say to them to take us home?
Well, first, Drew, I want to say to you, thank you for this work that you're doing. And I'm so pleased and honored to have met you in our other roles. And but it's people like you who are disruptors that I want to get involved with making things happen with the docket. I don't say that I have all the ideas. I really want to do that pilot project to have after our court. I had a client who missed his job so many times to come to court. We finally got his case dismissed, but it wasn't fair. Had to miss his work. He has a son. He's a dad, in spite of what he was charged with. So I don't have all the answers, so I'm going to be dependent on everybody to help me. And I want to bring a breath of fresh air to the bench. I want to bring change. I want to alleviate some of the stress, and not just for the people, the litigants, the victims, the accused, the plaintiffs, and those on the defendant side, in the civil cases, but to the lawyers that are working there and the other system people. And one thing that I can guarantee that I'm going to do is to treat everybody with respect. I'm going to be open to accountability. I want to be held accountable. And I will make sure that every voice is heard. And I will be the same that you see me here today, that you see me at NAACP meetings or anywhere in the community, or shopping at my favorite thrift store. I'm going to be the same person after I win this seat. And I'm going to be the same. And I just want to assure people of that, because I do ask people, are you going to change, Robin? You going to change? No, I'm not going to change. And if you see me changing, you got my cell phone number. Most people that know me got my cell number.
Right.
And I want you to call me out.
Okay.
And hold me accountable. And I will tell you that I'm going to make mistakes, but if you allow me a chance to have redemption, I promise you, and God knows this, God's self, that I will do my very best to try to embrace opportunities to get it right again. So spread the word, vote Kimbrough Hayes, May the 3rd.
There it is. Robin, I appreciate you being here, your time, your availability, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, let's win this seat. I'm working hard. Still picking up kids from school and managing my son and my husband, who has been super great. Wish I had a chance to brag on him. He's taking care of the campaign.
Right.
And we're got some ideas about. We've learned a lot how to run campaigns, and we are looking at helping grassroots folks like let's say you decide to run for office. We want to help folks like you to say, hey, you need to get NGP. Here's how we're gonna set it up for you. We're gonna do all these things for you to get you rolling on your office. So we want to help progressives, candidates who are disruptors to get into office.
All right. Well, thank you. And you got to come back.
You know I will. I will be back and dressed on time, and hopefully my son won't be going off.
All right. That's it. See y'all.
Thank
Talk to
you.
y'all later.